It was 2:14 in the morning when the phone rang. The sound didn't startle me, not really. It was the way it lingered. Each vibration a low throb that seemed to spread through the dark apartment, as if the walls themselves were humming along. I'd been lying awake for hours, watching the orange glow of the street lamp shift on the ceiling, tracing patterns I'd already memorized. The world outside was quiet in that brittle, fragile way it sometimes gets in the middle of the night, when you feel as though anything could happen and no one would notice. I reached for the phone without looking, expecting some wrong number or automated message. The screen lit up, and I froze. My own name stared back at me in clean white letters, my own number beneath it. For a moment, I thought I was looking at my contact list by accident. But then the vibration buzzed again, rattling the glass on the nightstand. My thumb hovered over the green button. There was no reason to answer. And yet some deeper pull, a kind of quiet gravity, urged me to. I pressed it to my ear. No hello, just breathing, familiar breathing. And then a voice, my voice, older, weighted, a tone I'd never heard from myself. You have to listen. Don't go outside tomorrow. I sat up, my heart ticking faster. Who is this? The question was absurd the moment it left my mouth. I already knew. The cadence, the hesitation before the words. It was like hearing myself through a filter, smudged and thinned by distance. You won't understand. Not yet. Just, if you value anything, stay inside. Lock the door. Don't answer to anyone. The urge to laugh, nervous, automatic, rose and died quickly. The voice was shaking, but not from fear exactly. It was the tremor of someone who'd been waiting too long to say something. What's going to happen? Silence stretched. I could hear the faint crackle of static in the background, like a distant radio searching for a signal. Then, if you go, you'll see me. You won't believe it's me at first, and by the time you do, it'll be too late to stop it. A metallic clatter sounded on their end, something like a chair tipping over. The breathing quickened. I can't stay. Someone's here. Please promise me you won't leave. I should have asked more. Demanded proof, an explanation, anything to make this less like a bad dream. But instead, I found myself whispering, I promise. The line went dead. For a while, I just sat there in the dark, the phone still warm in my hand. The silence in the room felt heavier now, as if the air had thickened around me. My apartment was the same and yet not. Shadows seemed sharper, the hum of the refrigerator deeper. Somewhere in the pipes, water shifted with a slow, echoing gurgle, though I hadn't turned on a tap. I lay back down but didn't sleep. Images unspooled in my head. Versions of me I didn't recognize. Faces half-turned in doorways. Hands reaching for doorknobs that weren't mine. By the time the first pale light of morning pushed through the blinds, I'd almost convinced myself the call had been a trick of half-dreams. Almost. It was raining. Thin, persistent rain, the kind that hangs in the air rather than falling. I worked from home, so keeping the promise should have been easy. But by noon, restlessness had set in. The walls felt closer, and the light in the apartment had a washed-out, underwater quality. I moved from room to room, glancing through windows at the street below. People passed with hoods up, umbrellas low. Ordinary. At 2:13 p.m., exactly 12 hours after the call, the phone rang again. Same name, same number. This time I answered without hesitation. Are you still inside? The voice was strained, urgent. Yes, I haven't. Good. But you've been looking out the windows. It wasn't a question. My skin prickled. How do you... Listen, there's someone across the street, near the lamppost. Don't look now. Every instinct rebelled. I wanted to look. I needed to look. But something in my own voice, my future voice, held me still. They'll wait, the voice said. They have time. You don't. The rain tapped against the glass like soft fingers. Somewhere outside, a car passed, tires hissing on wet asphalt. I swallowed hard. Who are they? I don't know. Not exactly. But they'll look like me. Or they'll look like you, depending on when you meet them. The air in my apartment shifted, a subtle drop in temperature. The smell of rain grew stronger, almost as if the windows were open, though I knew they weren't. "You're not making sense," I said, though my voice was quieter now. "I'm making as much sense as I can before—" A muffled sound, urgent movement on their end. The static deepened, a low, almost inaudible hum beneath it. "I have to go. Don't answer the door. Not even if it's you." The line clicked off. I stood in the middle of the living room, phone in hand, listening to the steady tick of the clock. The promise I'd made in the dark felt heavier now, less like a precaution and more like a contract. I told myself to stay calm, to wait this out. But the longer I stayed still, the more I felt it. That subtle pull toward the window, toward whatever was waiting across the street. By late afternoon, the rain had stopped, but the sky remained the color of wet stone. I found myself standing by the curtains, fingertips brushing the fabric. Just a quick glance, I told myself, enough to prove there was nothing there. I moved the curtain an inch. Across the street, by the lamppost, someone stood perfectly still. They were too far for me to see details, but the posture was unmistakable. Slight lean to the left, hands loosely at the sides. The way I stood when waiting for someone. They tilted their head, just a fraction, and I knew they were looking directly at me. I let the curtain fall. My phone vibrated immediately in my hand. Same name, same number. I didn't answer this time. Not right away. I stood there, pulse pounding in my ears, the weight of the call pressing against me like a physical force. The vibration stopped, then started again, relentless. When I finally pressed it to my ear, the voice on the other end was breathless, almost broken. "You looked. That's how it starts." I wanted to ask what it was, but I already sensed the answer wouldn't matter. Not anymore. The voice on the other end was quieter now, almost a whisper. "They know you've seen them. They'll try to close the gap. Every time you look, it pulls them closer." I pressed my back against the wall, phone gripped so tightly my knuckles ached. The room felt narrower, the air thicker, carrying that faint metallic tang of rain-soaked concrete. My own breathing filled my ears, out of sync with the shallow rhythm on the other end of the line. "What do they want?" I asked, though a deeper part of me already feared the answer. "They want to be you," the voice said, "and if they succeed, you'll end up here." There was a sound behind the voice then, a slow, deliberate creak, like a door opening somewhere close. My own apartment was silent, yet I felt the weight of that sound as if it were just down the hall. "Where is here?" I forced out. A long pause. "You'll know it when you can't leave." The line went dead again. I stood there for a long time, phone still to my ear, listening to the faint hum of the building. Eventually, I dared a glance through the curtain again. The figure was gone. Relief hit first, sharp and quick, then suspicion. The street was empty, but that didn't mean they weren't closer now. The rest of the day passed in slow increments, each minute heavy with the sense of being observed. I avoided the windows, avoided mirrors, even avoided speaking aloud in case some part of the air around me was listening. When night came, the darkness outside the apartment seemed to press up against the glass like a living thing. At 2:14 a.m., the phone rang again. I answered instantly, my voice shaking. "Where are you now?" "I'm outside your door." Every hair on my arms rose. "Don't!" "They're with me," my voice said. Not my voice from earlier. This one sounded cleaner, calmer, like I was hearing myself on a good day, well-rested, confident. "They want to meet you." Something soft brushed against the door, a slow drag from top to bottom, as if tracing its shape. My knees locked. "You're not me," I said, a quiet laugh. "Not yet." The call cut out, but the soft sound at the door remained. Then a knock, polite, almost rehearsed. I backed into the kitchen, my eyes fixed on that door, as if staring hard enough would keep it from opening. The knock came again, followed by my own voice calling through the wood. "You forgot to lock the deadbolt." The phone buzzed in my hand. My name, my number, again. When I answered, the tired version of my voice returned. "Don't listen to them. Whatever happens, don't let them in. Even if you think it's me. Especially then." I swallowed. "How do I stop this?" Another pause, then, "You can't. You can only delay it. And that's what I've been doing. That's what you'll do." The weight of that hit me like a cold wave. You mean, this has already happened? You're already in the loop," the voice said, quiet and certain. "One day you'll be the one calling. You'll tell yourself the same things. You'll fail in the same places." The knock grew harder, less patient. The door handle shifted, not turning, just testing. My voice, my other voice, spoke through the wood again. "You're going to have to open it eventually. It's easier if you do it now." The tired voice in my ear was trembling. "Don't, please. I've tried so many times to make it end differently, and it never does. Just stay inside as long as you can. Don't give them the doorway." I pressed the phone to my ear so hard it hurt, and when they get in, the answer came like a sigh. "Then you'll understand why I called." A deep quiet fell on both lines, on the phone and outside the door. Then the sound of retreating footsteps, fading down the hall. I didn't sleep. I sat in the living room chair until dawn, the phone in my lap, the air heavy with that strange ozone scent. By morning, I almost convinced myself it was over. The hallway outside was empty when I checked. No one by the lamppost, no calls. But I didn't feel relief. Instead, I felt the subtle shift in the world. The way the floor seems to tilt under you before you realize you're about to fall. I began to notice reflections that didn't quite match my movements. Shadows that lingered a second too long. My own voice in recordings carried an unfamiliar edge. By the second night, I'd stopped answering the phone altogether. I didn't need to. I already knew what I'd say. And someday soon, I'd be the one making the call. That thought should have terrified me, but instead, it felt like acceptance, as though in some strange way, the call had already been made, and the line was still open, stretching in both directions, past and future, waiting for me to speak.